Hi, this is Anna Hackman Green Talk, and today we have Eric Corey Fried in the house. Literally, really in the house. Eric is the organic architect and the author of 4 books, including Green Building and Remodeling for Dummies, Sustainable School Architecture, and his latest, Green Sense for Your Home. He sits on a multitude of boards, but I just wanted to give you a flavor about Eric. He sits on the board of Architect Designers and Planners for Social Responsibility, Green Home Guide, which by the way I happen to love, and West Coast Green, as well as an advisor to many, many organizations. Yet he is really a king guru architect here, and I am very lucky to have him here. I know he's smiling on the screen right now because he doesn't want to take all these wonderful praises, but he is really one of my heroes. Now, what Eric and I talked about before we started the show is I wanted him to give me his top 5 residential picks, and we're also going to do top 5 commercial picks. We're going to do them one at a time, and I put together his picks in a PowerPoint presentation so he can walk me through why these are his favorites. And let me tell you, it's going to be a treat because I've actually got to do this before any of you. So Eric, welcome. And before we get going, I just wanted to get people to understand a little bit about you. You have on your website that I think something's very interesting. You describe yourself as an architect that meets biology. What the heck does that mean?
It really means that I'm trying to build the way nature builds, because nature's got 3.8 billion years of building ahead of humanity. And really, nature knows how to build things that don't produce waste, that live exclusively on sunlight and thrive on diversity. Nature knows how to build things in a balanced, sustainable way, and we don't. So really, it's me just trying to understand that.
Can you give me an example of one of those concepts?
Sure. Um, Take the example of a tree, just as a design problem. If we were to actually try to, as designers, build a tree, we couldn't, because a tree creates its own oxygen, sequesters carbon, fixes nitrogen, builds soil, and provides habitat for hundreds of species. But our buildings can't do any of that yet. So in terms of structures, nature's got us beat, like way beat. I mean, it is so much more advanced than what we can possibly imagine. So there's kind of just a glimpse of how, if we look to nature, we can find design inspiration and hopefully make our buildings better, smarter, and more responsible.
Now, you've been an architect since 1994. What made green design so interesting to you? Why did you go in that direction?
People ask me that often. That's a common question. I think most people think that I switched, that I was out building McDonald's and IHOPs or something, and then suddenly one day I had an epiphany. It wasn't anything near like that. It was that when I was still in school, all of my mentors were old students of Frank Lloyd Wright, so I was already obsessed with nature anyway. And as I was learning more and more about how we built our buildings, it didn't make sense to me. And I started asking questions, quite simply, like, why would we do that if we know it's toxic? Why would we do that if we know it pollutes? Why do we do that if we know that it wastes energy? And I honestly just didn't understand it. It was illogical, and I wasn't really satisfied with the answers I was getting from my professors. So I started kind of reaching out and trying to find my own answers, and discovered this kind of whole subculture of sustainability and green building, and these kind of hippie architects from the 70s that had since been kind of dismissed, but were doing amazing things. And so for me, it's just always been a very logical choice.
And before we go to your 5 picks for residential, I have a question for you because, you're in the industry and you deal with other architects, planners, engineers. What do you think is the number one reason why other architects or engineers or builders just won't go down that green avenue? What do you think it is?
Well, I'd like to think there was some sort of logical reason why they do it, but it's not. My theory is that they do it out of fear. I think most of humanity is driven by fear. I think most of their decisions are driven by fear. Either fear of losing clients, fear of losing business, fear of being wrong, fear of making a mistake, just this overall sense of fear that seems to go through everything they do. And I think it's very easy for them to say, well, everybody else is building in a toxic, icky way. Why can't I? And everybody else has been doing this way for hundreds of years. Why can't I just continue? And that's kind of their anchor. That's what they hold on to, is kind of justification and a rationalization why it's okay. But the reality is it's not okay. Just because everybody's doing something wrong doesn't make it right. And there's no really wrong time to start doing what you already know to be the right thing. So how can we knowingly put cancer-causing chemicals into a building? That doesn't make sense to me. So just because everybody else is doing it doesn't mean that you should.
Now, what we're going to do is inspire all those naysayers today with,
We are.
yes, with the, it's like, the, not Jimmy Kimmel, who's the guy who does the top 10? I'm like blanking with his name, like the top,
Dave Letterman.
yeah, so we're going to be doing the top 5 Eric picks. So hold on one
Right.
second, I'm going to go over to the PowerPoint. Okay, the first one up is Mod Walls. Tell us a little bit about this product.
Well, Modwalls is first of all, it's a great company, and the people that run it are just lovely people, which believe it or not, I think is important. But they've got a line of just gorgeous tiles. They've got a lot of glass tiles and ceramic tiles, and there's no other company like them. Uh, they come in these gorgeous kind of retro modernist colors that are both very 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 popular today, but also would fit in perfectly with a 1950s modernist building, and they know that, and they kind of exploit it. So just their line of colors are beautiful, and then the shapes are just gorgeous, and they've got several tiles that I'm in love with, and I just keep using on projects, and they've got these gorgeous subway tiles that are just in incredible colors, these tiny little verticals that we use, and then they've got this crushed recycled glass made of old Coke bottles that I've been using for shower floors, and it feels great on your feet and just looks amazing.
So are all their products recycled content?
No, not all, but most are, and the ones that aren't are made from glass, and glass to me is a very good product anyway because it's infinitely recyclable. So I can feel good knowing that I'm using them, and it has so much less embodied energy than, let's say, a quarried stone or even a ceramic tile.
Now, one thing you did mention just now is you talked about the company. What is it about the company that you really like?
Well, they speak the language of design. They understand that we as designers, we like color and we like options and we like different things, and a lot of companies don't. You go to their website and they've really designed their website for themselves, and finding a product on it is impossible. And then talking to somebody about it is even harder. And you'd be shocked at how many companies almost seem like they're daring you to buy something from them, and they make it really unnecessarily difficult. Modwalls is a nice designer-friendly company, and I can send my clients there, and they love the website, and their staff is very nice. And any questions that it's just I like that it's not some big icky corporation, but it's a real company with real people.
I'm glad you brought that up because I actually have that problem when I actually write about some of the green design products.
I'm sure
Sometimes you can't get anything out of the company, and you're like, why do you bother to sell the product if you can't even have the press be able to write about it? So
it's bizarre to me.
it really is bizarre. And I'm glad that you brought that up because I just don't get it. That's one thing that's really, I just don't really get. Let's move on to the next one. Cork mosaic tiles. This is gorgeous. What I'm showing, because I don't know if you have it on screen while I'm doing this, I'm showing one of the projects where it's got cork floor, is like the little round cork floors with a bathroom. So tell us a little bit about this mosaic tiles.
Well, most people know cork is somewhat of a green material because it's really just tree bark, that we strip off the tree, and nothing dies in the process. But this cork is special in that this is actually recycled, reclaimed cork. It comes from wine bottle corks. So that's why they're in those little round shapes. They've taken recycled corks and sliced them up into little coin-sized bits, and then we lay it on the floor and then grout the whole thing. So it's a very unusual floor, and I often like to play with the size of the dots and kind of mix and match large ones with small ones, and it's actually great for a shower floor because the cork naturally resists water, and then the grout provides a nice kind of. It's great, and it's just a very unusual looking thing. It also looks great on curves, by the way. If you put it on a curved wall, those little mosaics just wrap perfectly, and it's beautiful.
It's really beautiful. I'm loving this floor. Let's move on to the next one. Oh, this was my favorite. I actually told you this before. This is the Sonoma cast stone concrete wave sink.
So Sonoma Cast Stone is essentially a concrete company, but a very kind of unique concrete company. They use a very specialized mix of concrete that has an ingrained color into it. You can pick a wide variety of colors, and so it's got a very unique feel to it. It's kind of has a big mass of concrete, but with a beautiful pattern and a beautiful texture, and it's not cold and icky like concrete. It's very warm, and they make a series of sinks, and this wave sink is just unlike anything you've seen because the countertop and the sink are all integrated into one monolithic solid piece. They also make a beautiful ramp sink that you're seeing everybody copy now because it's so cool. But they were the first to have it, and they also make a line of tubs, and just everything they do is just so beautiful. And again, it's another example of a really nice company, and that just makes a beautiful product.
How do you feel about the concrete embodied energy argument?
Well, that's a good argument. The Portland cement, which is the chief ingredient in concrete, is probably one of the well, it is the single largest point source of carbon emissions of any other industry. 8 to 12% of all carbon emissions come from Portland cement manufacture. So it's a problem. But luckily, what we've been doing is we've been doing high fly ash concrete to replace some of the Portland cement and offsetting some of that impact, some of that embodied energy. It's still not ideal, but it's great. And then there's another company called CalStar Cement that I've been working with that has a zero Portland cement concrete brick made of 100% fly ash, but it's still not at the point where I can use it for anything but brick yet. I can't make molds or tubs out of it yet, but it's coming.
Does this Sonoma cast stone also have fly ash in it?
They do, and not as much as I'd like, but I'm working on that.
So does that make it a much darker color?
No, no, because they're already putting pigments into it anyway, so they're controlling the color. They've got one that's looks like burgundy, almost like a wine color that is unbelievable.
Oh wow, that sounds gorgeous. I actually have fly ash in both my basement floor as well as my garage, and the reason I asked that is because they are very dark gray because I didn't put any pigment in it, but it's
Oh
very
yeah,
dark gray, but it's a very pretty color.
the fly ash will change the workability of the concrete too. So the color is different, and usually the way it takes longer to cure a little bit. So if you're going to use it for finish application, I usually ask people to make up a little test first to make sure that it's the exact color they want.
Good point. Let's go on to the next one, which is Alec recycled metal tiles. Tell us the story about this one.
Well, Leak is this Seattle-based company, and Sadie Clark runs it. And they're again just a wonderful, wonderful company, wonderful, wonderful group of people. But these are recycled aluminum tiles, and then they source them from all different places, then mold them into these beautiful little accents, and they would just look great along the backsplash. And you don't even need that many of them. You can just buy kind of a handful and kind of stick them in along the backsplash there. Aleek also makes this gorgeous sink that's shaped like it's got this great kind of organic football shape thing. That's an undermount sink that's just also made out of recycled aluminum that I just love.
Are they pricey?
The sinks are surprising. It depends on I guess what your expectation is. The sinks are not, in my opinion, not that bad. The tiles are cheap because you can sometimes we only need 10 tiles for the whole project. I wouldn't do a whole wall in them. That might end up being pricey. But for an accent, I think it's a great choice.
Okay, let's go on to the last one, which is a monoculture Benden lamp. Benden, that's a funny name, Benden lamp. This is gorgeous. Tell us a little bit about this.
Well, this is from a company called Culture, and they're based in Philadelphia, and it's two brothers that started the company, designer brothers, and this is on the surprisingly low end. The Benden lamp, I think it's $19, isn't it, or something like that, or it's definitely in the
Wow.
less than $100 range, and it's a single sheet of metal that's been stamped, and it arrives flat, and has these cool shapes cut out of it, and then you hang it on this light fixture that comes with it, and then you just bend it in the place you want, and you could rebend it if you want. So it lets you kind of customize a little bit what you're looking for, and when it's done, even though it started as a flat sheet, it ends up being this very organic, beautiful thing that was surprisingly affordable. And they make one that is in a lime green color that I just think is beautiful, and it's also a great gift. It's a gift that I end up giving to people a lot because it's such a little surprise. You open up the package and you're like, what is this thing? And it just bends. And it's all made out of recycled metal, which is just great.
Now, I only can see the picture, but it looks quite big. Is it that big? What do you think the diameter of it is?
I think it's kind of feels like it's about 18 by 18, and it comes in a square, surprisingly enough. But once you start bending all the wings up and down, it all you think it's round. It really kind of it's amazing how it morphs itself from this flat stamped sheet into something interesting. and you really have to look at the picture to really kind of get it. But it's I've been using it for like dining room chandeliers.
Yeah, it's gorgeous, and it's like almost kind of like one of those things. Like if you don't like its shape today, you can change it tomorrow.
Yeah, they encourage you to do that too. And then all of Mio Culture's products are interesting like that. They've got a three-dimensional wallpaper that are these tiles made out of recycled paper that you can put on the wall and then paint them, and they give the wall kind of a relief and a texture to it, and also very inexpensive. I end up using their products on something on most projects, I think.
Well, I want to thank you for showing me your top five picks. And last question, and then we're going to move on to the commercial, and that'll be a separate video for everybody. But I wanted to ask you one last question. You know, people are going to be watching this; they're going to be oohing and awing at these products, and there's so many. I mean, I'm sure it was tough for you to pick the top five. What advice do you give to someone who is thinking about building green? You know, make them feel more comfortable about going through the process and sticking to their guns. I know in 10 words or less.
My general advice is that don't be bullied by the system. You know, it's amazing how many times a client will tell me that they got pressured into something by their architect, by their interior designer, by their contractor, or by their even by their building department. I think that there's this overwhelming tendency for people just to kind of stay the traditional course that we've always built in this toxic way, which isn't actually true. So that's the way we should always do it. And so they end up putting things in the project that they didn't really even like or know. And most people are usually shocked when they discover all of the kind of hidden toxins and hidden dangers and irresponsible things that end up in their homes. Um, so my advice is to don't be afraid to kind of stand up and ask for it, or even just ask. I really just tell people to ask basic questions. Where did that come from? What were the byproducts of making it? How was it delivered or installed? How was it maintained? How healthy is it? And what are you going to do with it when you're done with it? And just ask those six questions, and really, you're not going to like the answers, but at the very least, you'll start a dialogue going and start to maybe find better alternatives.
What I find really by building green, because I actually did this back in 2003, it's a real learning curve, but it's a learning curve that really makes you aware, and it doesn't stop with one path. You just keep growing and growing and growing. And thank you to people like you, it's become mainstream, that it's now more accepted than, it's like, hippie-ish, as you had called it before. So, thank you so much for giving us your top
Oh, my
five tips.
pleasure.
And then we're going to move on. Everybody, there will be another video. We're going to do the top five commercial. People think that commercial can't be sexy, but believe me, Eric picked some really sexy products. Thank you so much.
Thank you.